going to do a little video today on a Separett tiny toilet, why I chose it, and a little bit of installation as well. Basically why I chose this over a traditional composting toilet and a cassette style toilet. Totally waterless and no compost. So this one works as a bag toilet, similar to a composting toilet where it's got a fan to take away smells and whatnot, but instead of having a peat moss or a coconut husk inside and having to churn it over and make compost, this one is actually a bag. So why I chose this one, basically it's a lot smaller than a nature's head, which is one of the main composting toilets. There is one called a Ogo. The Ogo is probably about the same size as this, but it still takes coconut husk, and it's, instead of having a handle on the side that you wind over, it's got an electric button that churns the compost over and helps that break down that way. So you've got less moving parts in this, less things to go wrong. It's pretty basic. Urine goes into a bottle and the waste goes into a bag. So there's no chemicals with this one either, so you don't need tablets or anything for your cassette toilet or the coconut husk for your composter. Basically you need some bags, and that's about it, and some power to run the fan. Also, it looks nice, looks like a normal toilet in a house that you'd have, more than one of those big bulky toilets. So it's really easy to clean, like even the kids can do it. Just basically take out the bag and throw it in the trash. So this toilet, the urine can be pretty much tipped in any toilet in a park. You can tip it under a tree, in a garden bed, away from everyone else obviously, but you can pretty much put it wherever you want because it is just urine. As for the waste section, it can be disposed of in a rubbish bin, the same as you dispose of a dog poo bag or a baby's nappy. So it makes it a lot easier. You don't have to go looking for dump points and things like that. So because you can do that, you can pretty much put anything in it, any rubbish. So say you got a van full of women like I do, that time of the month they're going through their cycle, they can actually dispose of their sanitary pads in these and just throw it out with the rest of the trash. It doesn't really matter, which you can't do with a cassette toilet obviously, and you can't do it with a composting toilet. So there's lots of pluses to this over the other toilets. I'm hoping it works as well as it says it does, but time will tell, and I'll put another video together then once we've used it for a little while. Okay, what we get in the box. So in the box you get a template. So the top template there is if you want to run the ventilation hose down through the floor, and then you've got the other one here if you want to run the ventilation hose through a wall ventilation. You also get installation manual in about 50 different languages. They're pretty basic, not really many tools needed. Just a hole saw, drill, level, silicon, same sort of stuff, and it also tells you what's supposed to be in the box. And then you get this little book, and it's got safety instructions, technical data, managing your waste, all your sizes for your toilet, the weights, all that sort of stuff, which is actually only weighs 8 kilos, so they're pretty light. There's not much weight to them at all. With that too, obviously carrying around a cassette toilet, you can have all that extra water sitting in the toilet. Most people have 2 cassettes because they seem to get filled up pretty quick. And the composting toilets, even with them, you've got the extra coconut husk. As they fill up, they do get heavier. This one you can just throw out, that's your weight gone. So you just pop it out of the box. So what you get in the box is a piece of PVC pipe for your ventilation, cut to size. And you also get like a starter pack in here. So the starter pack has got, it's got a little toilet tablet, so you can pop that in the front section as you in your urinal, and it's just got like a lemon scent to make it smell a bit better, but I'm hoping I don't have to use that at all, so we'll try it without that at the moment. Also, you get a starter pack of bags, roll of bags. You get 10 pack roll of bags, which keep you going for a little while. You also get an absorbent mat. So what actually happens with the waste section, if you keep that dry, then in theory you're not supposed to get any smell. So the drier you can keep that, the longer you can keep it in there and keep using it and have no smell at all. So you could basically use this for a week. As long as it's dry in the back, you should have no smell, and it'll settle itself down and fill up, so it doesn't overflow, obviously. Okay. Let's pop the packaging off. Okay, so these toilets were made in Sweden. They actually won the best toilet in 2021 in the European awards over there for their design, simplicity, and for being eco-friendly. So you can actually use these a couple of ways. Obviously I'm setting this one up in my caravan, so you can set it up with a urine canister, or if you've got a tiny home on a property or something like that, you can actually run a hose out of these and have the hose going outside, off down into a garden or down into the valley, and or your urine runs out that way, so you don't have to empty the container, you just have to worry about the waste in the back. So this one here actually came with the urine hose, because I didn't have any in stock at the time with the canister. So all they did is sent me out this one and a canister that I've put in here already, and yeah, they basically didn't charge me an extra. They just said, we'll make it the same price as buying one with a canister. So I'll just get the extra bits, which I'll just dispose of because I don't need them. Okay, inside here, let's grab the video. So what I've actually done, I've ordered the caravan without a toilet in it. So what the nice people did at the caravan place, I said I don't want a toilet, but I'd like a 12-volt plug there so I can run a composting toilet. At that stage I hadn't decided what kind of toilet I wanted. It is quite a tight spot. I was tossed up whether to get it a Nature's Head, but just once you get the handle in there, there's really not much room at all to wind the handle. And the Ogo toilet, it was quite smaller, but still the same problem as harder to empty, harder to set up with coconut husks and whatnot for composting. This one seemed nice and easy. I'll just pop the toilet in and I'll give you a bit of a run through how it works. So that's the toilet, just sitting in place. So I can do a bit of a run through on how it works. It's got a little logo at the top there, which actually lights up red once the urine container is full. So when you lift the lid, that's all you see. So you don't have to look at anyone else's business. The way it works is once you sit down on the toilet seat, it opens up, you stand up and it's closed. Downside is, men, you're going to have to sit down, do a wee, or go and find a tree, one or the other. So you pop that up there like that, that locks in so it stays up. Emptying the urine, it's got your cap there from where your urine goes in. You pop your lid on, lift your urine container out, take it wherever you need to take it. Pop your lid off, empty it, job done, easy. With the other waste section, it stays completely closed, which is good. So even once you get your urine container out, you're not having to look in the back. Keeps it nice and clean. The fan runs through here, sucks the smell straight out, so you get no odours when you're trying to empty the urine container, which you probably have to do once a day. It's only 7.5 litres compared to the Nature's Head, which is about 14 litres. So you'd probably be emptying the urine once a day, probably just before bed. You go and empty it, it'll last you through the night, into the next day, go and empty it again sometime that next day, and away you go. With this, you just lift the lid, and that locks up. Little carry handle, lift it out. Now this ring on top is a ring that holds the plastic bag in so the bag doesn't fall in. So you just pop those ring off. Obviously it's a lot easier with 2 hands. Oop, pop the ring off. So that was a bag in there. Close the bag, out it comes, off in the bin, toilet's cleaned. Really easy. pop a new bag in there, pop the ring on top. Locks the bag on there. Yeah. Pop the toilet back in. Pop your urine canister back in. Pop the lid down. Pop this lid down. Which doesn't make that much noise once it's clipped in properly. Oh. And make sure you take your cap off. Put in your urine holder, because that's actually where your drain goes into that. That's why I wouldn't close. And that's it. Toilet's clean, ready for its next use. Pretty easy, pretty simple. So in here, you also get a 240 volt plug for your, say you're using it in a cabin and you're 240 volt, you can plug it straight into 240, and it's got all the little European connections there for all the different countries, which we won't be using because we're going 12 volt. So when you go 12 volt, comes with a plug for the back of the toilet, which goes in back here. I'll show you. So your 12 volt just pops straight in the back there. Click it in there. And you can put a different connection on here, obviously. Some people put them in their tiny homes and they just plug up a battery for the weekend and use it for the weekend and unplug it and come back and plug it back into the battery the next holiday they have. But you can put it on a cigarette plug. I'm actually going to hardwire this one in with this little switch. So it's got the 12 volt there, 12 volt fuse. You can have a little switch so you can turn it on and off when you're parked up at home and you're not use it for a long period, or you just turn off your main switch, 12 volt switch in your caravan, and the fan's turned off and that's it, it's good to go. So it comes with all the bends. That's where your ventilation comes out. That's for your corner bend. I was going to, when I was first thinking about it, I was going to run the ventilation tube exhaust coming out the back and in behind the fridge cavity. The only problem I found with that, I don't have much room where the door goes back, so the pipe would have to go really close to the back wall. Also, I didn't know how much smell would come out of that ventilation tube, so you didn't really want that going in the back of the fridge and eventually coming back inside the van. So I've decided to run it through the floor. There's nothing under my floor here, so I can run it straight onto the floor and outside. What they do, they come with a little cap that goes on the end of the PVC pipe, sits there like so on the bottom of the van. I'll make a little stone guard for it so stone aren't going to hit it and break that canister. All it is just to stop bugs and things coming back up through that tube, which they shouldn't anyway because the fan's going. It should be fine. This is a little filter they give you for the fan to stop anything getting into the fan and clogging it up. Same with the tube that comes out the bottom. It's got a mesh thing on it so nothing can crawl up through it. You won't get ants through it. You You won't get bugs through it. Bit of silicone. I don't think I'll use that. I think I'll use my own. Yeah, and just heaps of screws, plugs, all that sort of stuff. Wall plugs if you need them. Basically everything you're going to need to hook it up is there. Now the only other thing they've said on the reviews, they give you this fancy little thing, and that sits down in there, and what it's supposed to do is to stop urine splashing around when you're in the toilet. A lot of people said they don't use that. The problem is when you clean your toilet and you lift it up, sometimes it holds a bit of urine in it and you get a dribble, 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 or you knock it out, it'll fall in your toilet and then you have to fish it out, and that's gross. So we'll see what we do with that. I don't know if I use it or not. But yeah, next step is drilling some holes and cutting a hole through the floor for my ventilation, and we'll go from there. As for drilling holes, I think I'm just going to screw it down through the floor. It's got plenty of spots there to drill it into the floor that it's not going to affect the containers going in. They do give you a couple of holes there at the back. The problem is knowing exactly what's behind that wall, whether there's wiring running through there or there's no plumbing. The plumbing's all underneath, but there could be some 12-volt power running through there. And also it's only a caravan wall, so they're pretty light. Yeah, you want to be able to find a stud in that wall to screw it into. So I'm just going to try it through that. Once it's sitting up against the wall anyway, I'll probably put some silicone on the back of it, then push it up tight so it's held steady, and screw it in through the floor, and use nice big washers to even out the weight of the toilet with the screws, and yeah, she should be nice and secure and ready to hit the road. Okay, this is your first step. So they give you this wire coming out of the wall. That's your 12-volt. I'd say to go to a fan or a light or something like that. They've just run a loop through. First things first is to check which one's your live and which one's your negative. Minus 1330 volts. So obviously I've reversed the polarity there. I got like 14 volts there, so that's showing me that solid green is my power, the black and green is my negative. So what I've got to do is cut these alligator clips off. Positive will go to that one, negative onto that one, and it's already got a inline fuse there to, in case something goes wrong with the toilet and the fan, and I can just change that fuse and go from there. That if something's wrong with the toilet, that should blow first. Obviously if something's wrong with the lights, the fuse up to the lights or the fan or whatever this wire is coming from, that'll blow first if there's a problem that end. So yeah, I'm just going to cut these a bit shorter, bridge it all together, seal them all off with some shrink tape, some solder, and then we'll see how we go from there. So that's all the wiring done. I like to stagger these joints so you haven't got power rubbing up against each other, and gives you a nice neat finish with your wires too, so you haven't got a big bulgy bunch of wires there. So this 12 volt does the whole bathroom area. So when I disconnected it, the 12 volt works in the rest of the van, but no 12 volt works in the bathroom area at all. So this is your main 12 volt coming from your battery to do all your 12 volt fans and lights in your bathroom. Your next step after your wiring is drilling your ventilation hole through the floor, and that's if you want to run your urine outside, which we're not doing in the caravan. And then these ones, you can have a ventilation tube through the wall, and your urine through a wall as well if you've got it into a cabin. So these templates are pretty precise. I've measured an even distance both sides from the template. That's going to get it right in the center for me, so it sits nice and neat. I'm just going to run a pilot hole through the center, make sure there's nothing underneath, which I've been under there already and had a look. Doesn't look to be anything in the way. Be better off running the pilot hole first, just in case you do have to move it a little bit off center. You're not going to have a great big hole and trying to fix a big hole in your floor. That's the pilot hole drilled. So we'll duck outside and we'll have a look, make sure it's coming out in a nice clear spot, and then we can drill the rest of the hole through. So that's the pilot hole drilled through there. Plenty of room under there. It's not going to interfere with anything. It's going to go nice and close to that steel brace through there on the chassis, but I've looked at the pipe size and it's going to fit right up against it, so it should fit nice and snug. That's your ventilation tube drilled through. I'm going to have a quick look underneath and make sure I've done a nice job under there. That's what it looks like from underneath. Bit of a handy tip for you. When you're drilling your hole saw hole, noisy bird in the background. When you're drilling the hole, go about 90% through, and then come underneath the van, use that pilot hole and drill up from the bottom, and that'll stop all that timber from splintering and making a big mess under there, and makes a much neater hole, so you can just run the pipe through and seal it off. So the ventilation tube's now been cut to size. Pre-drilled it, ready for the cap to go on the bottom. So I'm just going to slide the whole toilet down to the hole, make sure none of the wires get caught, and then I can screw it into the floor. So underneath the van, that's all you've got there, just the little air vent, a couple of screws hanging through, which I'll put some silicone on, and I'll run some silicone around the bottom of that just to stop it coming loose and dropping down at all. It's a pretty snug fit, so it should be pretty well fine. And I've just put a little drain hole in the bottom of the air vent, just in case things get caught up in there. Let some water out if it gets water stuck up in there, but it looks pretty good. Okay, that's the toilet all installed. I'll just show you how easy it is to empty them once they're in. So you just pop your lid, can't see through the back, which is great. Pop your lid up, you take your urine container out. That light in the back just means that this is full. I think it comes on red when it's full. Haven't tried it yet. And it goes off when it's empty, obviously. Lift the back. Lift your container out. All you have to do is pop your ring off, take your bag, off you go, empty it, new bag, pop it on, make sure your locking ring's on. Once that's locked on, the bags can't come off, can't pull out of there. Be nice and secure. If your bag doesn't get caught in the vent. Pop your urine container back in. Lid goes down. It should sit nice and flush. If you haven't got the bucket in there properly, sitting up the side, it won't sit properly. Please make sure it's sitting in there nice and even. Same with the urine container. Makes a bit of a clunk, so the locking pin comes up. And that's it, ready to use again. I'll just open up as you sit on it, closes back up again. That's it.